Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. All right, this story I believe broke last week. I'm just getting to it now. In the Trump civil trial in New York City, Trump had an expert witness, Eli Bartov, a New York University accounting professor, who testified on December 7th that he did not see any evidence of fraud in Trump's family estate, his family real estate company's financial statements. The judge, his response to this when being challenged on some motions, basically said that this expert witness lost all credibility by, quote, doggedly justifying the former president's business records. All right, so what do we have on here? So Bartov is that New York professor. Apparently he charges $1,350 an hour to do his work. And allegedly he spent 650 hours on this. Just to kind of put that in perspective, if you're working 40 hours a week, so it's like your full-time job, you would have to do that for a little over 16 weeks to do what Bartov did. In the end, he was compensated $877,500 for his efforts. It's a great paycheck if you can get it. The judge, and there's a quote here, says, all that his testimony proves is that for $1 million or so dollars, some experts will say whatever you want them to say, when he wrote a scathing denial of several requests by Trump for the case to be decided in his favor. By doggedly attempting to justify every misstatement, Professor Bartov lost all credibility. And that's kind of the point. It's like, the thing with Trump is you can't ever be wrong ever. So you have to argue every point. And he wants his experts to argue every point. And if you do that and you concede nothing, you become unbelievable and unreliable. Trump's attorneys are upset. They're just basically saying this is another example of Judge Engoron being biased. Maybe you shouldn't have written such a scathing rebuttal. The judge shouldn't have written such a scathing rebuttal. But as he wrote in the end, in his 3-page ruling, Engoron acknowledged that the defense's argument property valuations are subjective and are inaccurate information, and financial statements must be material to break the law. He said Trump's statements were replete with examples of material misstatements. A lie is still a lie. And that's, I think, the judge summing up his point. Yeah, people can make honest mistakes. That can happen. But your expert witness said even the honest mistakes weren't mistakes. And there were so many, quote unquote, mistakes that it's not a mistake. It's a pattern, and that pattern indicates a lie. So closing arguments are set for January 11th. So we are less than a month away from closing arguments in this case. Now, with this breaking story, well, it's a little bit old breaking story. Let's look at the energy around Judge Engoron's statements, this expert witness. Let's look at the expert witness first. What's the energy around this expert witness? All right, start off with the Four of Wands. I don't believe the expert witness is going to prison. This is the coming and going of that expert witness. Welcome to the court. See you later. What are we going to cross it with? There's the judge. The judge, he brought this expert witness in. This witness gave his testimony, but the testimony wasn't believable. The judge is looking critically. The judge, in this case, is the judge. He gets to look critically at all the information that's being brought by this by Mr. Bartov. Mind you, Mr. Bartov worked 650 hours. His research was thorough, and he was well compensated for his very thorough research. The problem is that his opinion is unbelievable, which is going to necessarily stand out to the judge. In the past, we have the Eight of Swords. Some people are slaves to the money. They're slaves to what they do. And I don't mean to use that term lightly like that, but they willingly Bartov willingly tied himself to this case. Now, he allegedly did 600. He was, well, not allegedly. He billed 650 hours worth of work. So he has to make darn sure that his client is getting everything that his client wants. And we know what Trump is like. Like his doctors have to say he's not overweight. He's the healthiest person ever. He might live to be 200 years old. I've never had such a healthy patient. That kind of thing, which makes the doctors unbelievable. This is just an extension of that. This was the big witness that the Trump team was unloading on here, and this witness was stuck with his testimony. Current situation as the high priestess. His testimony will be certainly taken into account in the trial, but in this case, he overplayed his hand. He wasn't reliable, so any pearls of wisdom that he might have been able to bring to impact the financial decision were lost. And that's the problem when you don't concede points. I'm surprised the Five of Swords hasn't shown up. When you don't concede points, even when you have a valid point, it's going to get ignored. It's going to get thrown out with everything else because you're unreasonable. What you're saying, it doesn't make sense. It's unacceptable. And if I'm throwing out 90% of what you're saying, I might as well throw out 100% of what you're saying. That's kind of where I'm going with that. Wheel of Fortune. The overarching energy here. Time and time again, Mr. Bartov was making his points about there were no errors on it. And he overplayed his hand. By constantly repeating the same message, he undermined any credibility that he had going on here. Wheel of Fortune, as far as Wheel of Fortune, he didn't walk away with the ceramic dragon head bookends. You know what I mean? He walked away with a pretty penny. The lesson to be learned. Trump may be appreciative of all the wonderful, nice, kind things that he did, but in the end of the day, he didn't move anything forward. This was he comes across as naive. Mr. Bartov comes across as naive, and here's the thing. This is going to have repercussions on future cases. Now, the DA apparently has used this same professor for expert testimony in the past. I would imagine they didn't pay him $877,000 for his expert testimony, but they've used him in the past. So they have trusted him. But I think in this case, this professor, he got a little greedy and spun the big wheel. And now I think not only he got a big payday, which is great, but he's destroyed his reputation. The New York DA will not use his testimony again. And don't be surprised if nobody else does either. Because a case like this is so high profile that everybody sees it and you're going to come across as a joke. Yeah. Delusional. People are just going to look at this guy as that, who is this weirdo? We're not dealing with him. People will look at him funny. They will not deal with him again. So, it's one of the things when you destroy your reputation, you don't get that back. Reputations, especially when you're going to be an expert on something, your reputation is everything. If you destroy your reputation, if people think that you don't have integrity or you're not honest, yeah, that's it. That's a death blow. A death blow to your career. And it's not just that. It's all sorts of fields where you might be a contracted expert in some way, shape, or form. You cannot afford for things like this. Now, maybe he was planning on getting out of the consulting business and he wanted one last payday, or maybe he didn't know what he was getting himself into. I don't know. But that was a really bad choice. All right. I don't need to read on this guy anymore because we're not, 6 months from now, we're not going to even remember his name. We'll have some vague memory of what he did, but we won't be able to remember his name, and then he will be lost to history for the rest of us. However, for people that would normally be working with him, maybe not so much. Well, Judge Engoron's, will this guy's testimony move the case at all? I mean, Judge Engoron's pretty much said no, but let's see. All right, got the Seven of Wands here. Government, the Magician, Nine of Wands, Page of Swords. He went up there fighting and swinging. He was going to carry all of Trump's water, but he came across as a noob. Somebody who, for somebody who's done this, as long as he's done this, he came across as just being a noob. Somebody who didn't know what they were doing. Rookie mistakes. This is just an unforced error on himself. He wanted to be the savior of Donald Trump. He wanted to earn that near $1 million, and he probably oversold himself saying, I can save you from this one. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to find it. So he's ready to go to court and testify everything that he found. But the problem is that after the testimony is done, he's kind of looking, or probably when he took the case, when he started looking at the actual data and the illusions in it, he's like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? Now, dreading the day he has to go to court because he said he could win this. Trump believed him and counted on this guy to be his savior. He did the work, and I think he realized there was no chance he was going to be able to pull this off. Or he had to make a choice. Is he going to, basically say that, hey, I got nothing to help you. I was wrong. There's nothing to help you. Or is he going to, they pay me $900,000. I better go through with it. The Hierophant is the courts, him going into the courts and testifying in front of the courts and in front of that judge. That was, I think you can appreciate the ethical dilemma that he was in. Because, again, here you are. You probably, you're an expert in the field. You probably have pumped yourself up and said, I can do this. And then you get in there and you find out it's way worse than you ever imagined. Now what do you do? And I guess he didn't want to walk away from that money. Because that's the other option, right? You either go and testify as that expert, or you give the money back and say, sorry, can't do this. Or this is all I can do. And then, try and bill him and know that you won't get paid. All right. Will Judge Engoron's strongly worded rebuttals and refusals cause any problems with any appeals that Team Trump will make? Because obviously they're going to appeal everything, right? Because that's just what they're going to do. And I'm sure they'll include this too. But will this strong opinion have any bearing, cause any problems going forward? Entertainment purposes only. Decisions need to be made. The opinions will be evaluated, but I think they'll be evaluated in the context of the testimony and of the evidence. This is blind justice. So, yeah, it'll be appealed and it will be evaluated. Yep, the appeals are going forward. I mean, the appeals are going to go forward anyways, right? They of course they are. It's small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. There's some disappointment. Trump's legal team, the judge might get admonished for being too strongly wording things too strongly. Maybe Trump gets a small reward or a small reprieve from some of this, but it's not a big deal. The case is going forward. I mean, because the damages are already going forward with it. Trump's made his bed. Judge Engoron really can't take back his comments at this point. He's stuck with what he said. But this financial expert wasn't much of an expert. And the judge will be able to defend himself for the most part. Again, there might be some small concessions that are given on this one. This in itself is not something that would allow for an overturning or an overruling of the judgment. It could reduce some of the judgment, or on appeal. Maybe some things will get reduced or whatnot. But I don't think this person's testimony, Mr. Bartov's testimony, wasn't really moving the needle at all. Because basically his testimony said he did nothing wrong throughout the case. Well, we know that's not the case. There's all sorts of stuff to show it was wrong. And when you do that, you ruin your credibility. Again, Judge Engoron may get admonished for some things, but he may not. Who knows? Well, we'll find out soon enough. January 11th, closing arguments. And then I imagine that's going to be a day or two. And then we're going to have Judge Engoron get the case. And we'll find out his initial assessment probably at the end of January, beginning of February. It's coming quick. All right. Thank you for watching my channel and watching this video. I appreciate it. Thank you for all your likes and your shares and your comments and everything you do to feed the YouTube algorithm so my video makes it out to a wider audience. To new viewers and new subscribers to the channel, welcome. Glad you found us. Hope you found this reading insightful, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.